Welcome back to Who Died Today USA channel. In the past few days, we have received somber news about the passing of extraordinary talents. Today's episode is dedicated to honoring their memory. Additionally, we will recap the stars we have recently lost. Before we begin, we kindly ask for your support. If this video or the legacies of these remarkable individuals have touched your life, please consider giving this video a thumbs up as a sign of respect and remembrance. Thank you. Valyria Marquez. She was live streaming at her own beauty salon when tragedy struck, a moment that stunned her followers and gripped a nation. Valyria Márquez, just 23 years old, was doing what she loved most, connecting with her audience, sharing beauty tips, and bringing joy through the screen. Sitting in her chair at Blossom Beauty Lounge in Zapopan, Mexico, she held a pink stuffed animal and smiled gently into the camera, until a masked man entered, asked, "Are you Valeria?" And within seconds, changed everything. Valeria was a rising star in the world of beauty and digital influence. With over 200,000 followers across TikTok and Instagram, she had become a role model for young women across Latin America. Her warm presence, her tutorials, her sense of humor, they made her a trusted friend to many who had never even met her. She was not just building a business, she was building a safe space where beauty met confidence. Authorities say the man who attacked her had no personal connection to her. It was a calculated act, one now being investigated as a possible femicide, part of a larger pattern of gender-based violence in Mexico. Despite government reforms, women across the country continue to face alarming levels of threat, often without justice. Valeria's passing left behind not just heartbreak, but a powerful reminder. Public platforms do not always equal protection. Yet her voice, her energy, and her spirit still resonate with the people she touched. She was more than an influencer. She was a light in a world that desperately needs more kindness. Pete Rose, he gave more to baseball than anyone, until the game turned its back on him. But now, something has changed. For decades, Pete Rose was both a symbol of baseball's gritty heart and its most controversial chapter. Known as Charlie Hustle, he played with unrelenting energy, turning every sprint to first base into a statement. Over 24 seasons, Rose amassed a record-breaking 4,256 hits, played more games than any other player in Major League history, and earned 3 World Series championships. He was the 1973 National League MVP, a 17-time All-Star, and a figure beloved by fans who admired his work ethic more than flash. Yet beyond the numbers, Rose was a fighter, for better and worse. As a manager for the Cincinnati Reds, he faced serious consequences for betting on games, including those involving his own team. This decision shadowed his legacy and led to a permanent ban from the sport in 1989. He later admitted to his mistakes, but the road to redemption remained long and uncertain. In September 2024, Pete Rose passed away at the age of 83. His final years were quiet, but his name never left the headlines, not for scandal, but for a long overdue question. Should the man who gave baseball everything and more be remembered in its Hall of Fame? Just months after his passing, Major League Baseball reversed its long-standing policy, lifting the ban on Rose and other deceased figures. At last, the door to Cooperstown is open. Pete Rose was flawed, relentless, and unforgettable. His story is not one of perfection, but of passion, and that is what makes it truly American. Breaking news. Today we explore the extraordinary journey of one of the most fearless, transformative, and beloved actors in Hollywood history. Willem Dafoe is more than just a performer. He is an artistic force whose career has redefined what it means to truly live inside a role. What do you admire most about Dafoe's acting? Share your thoughts in the comments as we dive into his incredible path, from avant-garde theaters to blockbusters. and the resilient spirit behind it all. Willem Dafoe was not born into acting, nor did he chase it from childhood with starry-eyed ambition. Raised in Appleton, Wisconsin, he initially had no intention of becoming an actor. But fate, as it often does with the most compelling stories, had other plans. He briefly attended an acting program before dropping out, drawn instead to the experimental and physical nature of performance art. It was not the bright lights of Broadway that lured him in, but the radical energy of downtown New York. There, he discovered the Wooster Group, a daring, avant-garde theater company with which he spent 27 formative years. This was not just training, it was transformation. In the Wooster Group, Dafoe embraced physical theater, emotional risk-taking, and the kind of boundary-pushing performance that would later define his film work. He was not acting to impress, he was acting to explore. And when he finally stepped into cinema, it was with that same raw intensity. His first film credit, Heaven's Gate, ended abruptly. Dafoe was fired early in production due to a misunderstanding during an improvisation in Dutch, a language he did not actually speak. But it was not a setback that discouraged him. Instead, it became a footnote in a much larger story. His true cinematic breakthrough came in The Loveless, 1981, a low-budget biker film directed by Catherine Bigelow and Monty Montgomery. It was here that Dafoe's unique screen presence, his sharp features, intense eyes, and unpredictable energy first caught Hollywood's attention. But it was just the beginning. The real turning point came with Platoon, 1986, cast by Oliver Stone in a film that would become a cornerstone of Vietnam War cinema. Dafoe played Sergeant Elias, a morally grounded soldier caught in the brutality of conflict. His emotional, almost spiritual performance earned him his first Academy Award nomination. One scene in particular, a slow-motion collapse as bullets fly overhead, became an iconic image of American cinema. Dafoe later described that moment as a kind of practice in vulnerability. He was simply told, "Run from here to there, and you will fall." The simplicity of the task, mixed with the emotional weight, left a deep impact on him. Then came a role few would dare to take: Jesus Christ in Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ, 1988. Dafoe was not even in the initial pool of candidates, but when the call came, he did not hesitate. Filmed in Morocco, the experience was isolating and transformative. The crucifixion scenes in particular evoked a rush of physical and emotional intensity. Though the film ignited controversy, Dafoe never regretted the choice. He believed in the story's exploration of faith and humanity, not doctrine. And in taking the risk, he cemented his reputation as a courageous actor. The 1990s saw Dafoe taking on a range of characters that were anything but safe. In Wild at Heart, directed by David Lynch, he transformed his appearance entirely with rotting teeth and slicked hair. The role was grotesque, but it worked. It proved that Dafoe could vanish into even the most extreme characters. Then came The Boondock Saints, 1999, a film with a cult following despite initial studio rejections. Dafoe played Detective Smecker, a flamboyant, brilliant profiler who became an unlikely fan favorite. He took a chance on a first-time director, Troy Duffy, and the project, though rocky in production, became beloved by a fiercely loyal audience. Through all of this, Willem Dafoe has maintained an almost monk-like devotion to his craft. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he avoids tabloid attention and eschews the Hollywood lifestyle. He follows a disciplined, health-conscious routine, known for his physical flexibility and commitment to well-being. His energy on screen stems from real-life vitality. He practices yoga, avoids excess, and keeps his body conditioned not just for roles, but for life. Dafoe lives in the moment. He often says that he does not dwell on past achievements or worry too much about what comes next. This philosophy, rooted in presence and process, is what allows him to pour himself so completely into every performance. Whether playing a vampire, a soldier, a villain, or a saint, he brings the same authenticity and surrender. He has been nominated for 4 Academy Awards, worked with legendary directors, and performed in films both celebrated and misunderstood. But through every role, Willem Dafoe has remained true to his calling, not just to act, but to transform. His story is not just one of success, it is one of commitment, reinvention, and fearless artistic pursuit. In an industry that often favors the predictable, Defoe remains gloriously unpredictable. What is your favorite Willem Dafoe performance? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe in honoring those who reshape what is possible on screen, like and subscribe for more tributes to Hollywood's boldest and brightest. Thank you for joining us in celebrating a performer who continues to challenge, surprise, and inspire, the incomparable Willem Dafoe. Today, we remember Robert Benton, a quiet visionary whose gentle storytelling changed the emotional fabric of American cinema. Born in Waxahachie, Texas in 1932, Benton grew up struggling with dyslexia, a challenge that made reading difficult but opened a new path: visual storytelling. He found solace in movies, often going to the theater with his father instead of doing homework. That early love for film would one day lead him to 3 Academy Awards and a legacy of deeply human stories. Benton's films never shouted, they whispered truths. Kramer vs. Kramer, a moving portrait of family, fatherhood, and change, earned him Oscars for Best Director and Screenplay. Places in the Heart, inspired by his grandmother's perseverance during the Great Depression, won him a 3rd Oscar and helped bring actress Sally Field one of her most iconic roles. In every script he wrote and every scene he directed, Benton sought authenticity, emotions that linger long after the credits roll. Despite early career setbacks and health struggles linked to his dyslexia, Benton's compassion and patience helped actors deliver some of their finest work. He was known in Hollywood not for flashy blockbusters, but for understanding the quiet power of a single, honest moment. His collaborations with Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep, Paul Newman, and many others led to multiple Oscar-nominated performances. Robert Benton passed away peacefully at his home in Manhattan on May 11, 2025, at the age of 92. His longtime assistant confirmed the news. His legacy endures through stories that still touch hearts, films that remind us how fragile, flawed, and beautiful the human experience truly is. For those who believe in the quiet strength of cinema, Robert Benton's voice will never fade. Do you remember those actors who, even in just one scene, left a lasting impression? Samuel French was one of those rare talents, a man whose quiet intensity lit up the screen and lingered in the hearts of those who watched him work. Born in Waco, Texas in 1980, Samuel began his acting journey on television, landing roles in series like Texas Rising and Fear the Walking Dead. But his breakthrough came in 2023 with Killers of the Flower Moon, where he portrayed C.J. Robinson, an undercover agent navigating the dark history of the Osage murders. Sharing the screen with Robert De Niro, Samuel earned praise from none other than director Martin Scorsese, who told him, "No one could have played Robinson as well as you did." As his star began to rise, Samuel faced a profound personal battle, a cancer diagnosis that quietly shaped his final years. Yet he never stepped away from the craft he loved. His performance in the upcoming film Towpath as Detective Bernard Crook is being hailed as a triumph of passion over pain. Director Paul Sinecor called him fearless, unfiltered, and alive. In 2025, Samuel won Best Supporting Actor at the Cowpokes International Film Festival for his role in Monsters Within. It was a final, fitting recognition of his deep commitment to the art of storytelling. Samuel French passed away on May 9, 2025, at age 45. He is remembered not just for the roles he played, but for the heart he poured into them. He leaves behind a daughter he cherished, a handful of powerful performances, and a legacy that speaks softly, but with lasting strength. Greg Cannom, the legendary makeup and prosthetics artist whose brush shaped some of Hollywood's most unforgettable faces, has passed away at the age of 73. From the haunting elegance of Bram Stoker's Dracula to the endearing warmth of Mrs. Doubtfire, Cannom didn't just apply makeup, he crafted identities. His artistry turned Brad Pitt into an aging man born old in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and transformed Christian Bale into the formidable Dick Cheney in Vice. These weren't mere illusions, they were seamless windows into character and time. Cannom's passion began early, inspired by the groundbreaking work in The Exorcist. Over the decades, he became the quiet genius behind the camera, helping to shape icons of cinema, and in doing so, becoming one himself. He earned 4 Academy Awards and the respect of an entire industry. Yet behind the acclaim was a man who faced personal trials with quiet resilience. In his later years, Greg battled diabetes and a severe staph infection, which led to the amputation of his leg. Despite these hardships, he remained a revered figure in his field, with colleagues and fans rallying in support through his health challenges. Greg Cannom's legacy is etched not only in film reels, but in the hearts of audiences who remember the magic he created. A father disguised as a nanny, a vampire with a soul, an aging mind full of brilliance. His work transcended transformation. It was about revealing the soul beneath the surface. In remembering Greg, we honor not only an artist of rare talent, but a spirit that never stopped believing in the power of imagination. Michelle Trachtenberg, who first graced our screens as the wide-eyed Harriet in Harriet the Spy, and later stirred both laughter and drama in beloved series like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Gossip Girl, has left us at just 39 years old due to complications from diabetes. She was more than a child star. She was a presence. From the moment she stepped onto a set, Michelle brought with her a rare mix of brilliance, mischief, and grace. As Dawn Summers, she added tenderness to a show built on strength. As Georgina Sparks, she spun chaos into captivating performance, never afraid to be complex, never afraid to be bold. Yet behind the scenes, Michelle walked a path of quiet difficulty. She faced a series of profound health battles, including a liver transplant and declining physical strength. Even then, she stayed connected, sharing memories, fashion moments, and glimpses of her spirit with fans around the world. Her final posts reflected a longing for beauty, for light, for joy. And they gave us one last look into the soul of a woman who had grown, endured, and continued to inspire. Her co-stars' tributes speak volumes. Sarah Michelle Gellar's words, drawn from Buffy, now echo with sorrow and love. I will live for you. Rosie O'Donnell, her early mentor, simply said, I wish I could have helped. Michelle's journey reminds us that even in struggle, there can be connection. Even in silence, impact. Her legacy lives on in every young artist she inspired, every heart she touched, and every viewer who found a piece of themselves in her characters. She wasn't just a star, she was a spark, and that spark still glows. Les Binks, the renowned drummer whose dynamic rhythms helped shape Judas Priest's most formative years, passed away peacefully in March 2025 at the age of 73. Born James Leslie Binks in Northern Ireland, he discovered the drums at just 5 years old, beginning a lifelong relationship with rhythm and sound. After establishing himself in London as a sought-after session musician, Les found his way to Judas Priest and into rock history. During his brief yet brilliant time with the band, Les recorded on Stained Class and Killing Machine and gave fans one of metal's most iconic live recordings, Unleashed in the East. His technical flair and thunderous double bass style became a hallmark of Judas Priest's early sound. More than a performer, he contributed creatively too, co-writing the beloved track Beyond the Realms of Death. But Les's journey was not without trials. After disputes over fair compensation, he made the principled decision to leave the band. It was a difficult parting, yet he continued making music with integrity and joy, later forming Les Binks Priesthood, a tribute to the music he helped create. In 2022, in a deeply moving moment, Les reunited with Judas Priest at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. After 43 years, he returned not in anger, but in honor, showing that respect, like rhythm, finds its way back home. Les Binks leaves behind more than albums and applause. He leaves a legacy of artistic passion, personal courage, and timeless sound. His music remains in the hearts of fans across generations. For those who listened, and those who played, he was and will always be the heartbeat of a movement. Chris Jasper, the Juilliard-trained maestro behind some of the most timeless soul and funk records of the 20th century, has passed away at the age of 73 after a battle with cancer. Though the world has lost his physical presence, his melodies live on, echoing through generations. From That Lady to Fight the Power, For the Love of You to Caravan of Love, Chris didn't just write music. He sculpted soundscapes that carried messages of love, empowerment, and community. His touch turned rhythm into emotion, chords into conversations. He joined the Isley Brothers in 1973 and helped elevate their music into a richer, deeper realm. With his classical roots and gospel soul, Chris brought orchestral elegance to streetwise funk. And when he stepped away to form Isley Jasper Isley, he reminded the world that unity and hope could still top the charts. His solo career was a quiet testament to perseverance. Albums kept coming, each one a reflection of values he held close: faith, learning, and purpose. Even when facing illness, Chris continued to create. He never stopped believing in the power of music to heal and uplift. In the words of his family, he was more than a musician. He was a father, a husband, a man of wisdom, a soul who gave everything to his art, and in doing so, gave so much to us. We'll remember him every time those opening chords play, every time a lyric reminds us to stand strong, to love deeply, and to rise. Chris Jasper's music was more than a sound. It was a way of being. Daniel Bisogno, the vibrant soul behind Mexico's beloved entertainment show Ventaneando, passed away at the age of 51 due to complications following a liver transplant. For nearly 3 decades, Daniel brought energy, wit, and fearless honesty to millions of viewers. His sharp humor and spontaneous charm made him a fixture in living rooms across Latin America. But behind the stage lights was a man of resilience who never stopped loving life, even as it tested him. How do you keep smiling when your body is failing you? Daniel somehow found a way. In 2023, Daniel's health began to falter. Hospital visits became frequent. Diagnoses piled up: liver disease, infections, complications. In September 2024, he underwent a liver transplant. Though the surgery was successful, a fierce bacterial infection set in, and he never fully recovered. Still, in January 2025, on the 29th anniversary of Ventaneando, he phoned in from his hospital bed. His voice was calm, grateful. "This life," he said, "has given me everything, the good and the bad, and all of it has been wonderful." It was more than a message. It was a farewell wrapped in grace. Who among us could say the same, facing such odds? Daniel leaves behind his 8-year-old daughter, Michaela, who lit up his world, and a legacy that stretches far beyond the screen. To his friends, he was loyal. To his audience, unforgettable. He made us laugh. He made us think. And in his final months, he reminded us, quietly, bravely, what it means to face life with heart. Our next story honors a behind-the-scenes legend, whose work shaped how we see some of the most iconic moments in cinema. We're talking about Rosanna Norton, the visionary costume designer best known for her unforgettable designs in Tron, Carrie, and Badlands. But before we begin, we want to hear from you. What's the most iconic movie costume you've ever seen? And do you think Rosanna Norton deserves to be mentioned in that conversation? Tell us in the comments below. Rosanna Norton passed away on May 7, 2025, at her home in Los Angeles at the age of 80. The cause, according to her granddaughter, was bladder cancer, a quiet battle that took one of Hollywood's most gifted visual storytellers. Born in Los Angeles in 1944, Rosanna originally trained as a painter at UCLA before being drawn into film through her then-husband, director Bill Norton. Her first major work came on Cisco Pike, but it was her collaborations with visionaries like Brian De Palma, Joe Dante, and Terrence Malick that set her apart. Her costumes didn't just dress characters, they revealed them. In Carrie, she famously chose a soft pink satin dress for Sissy Spacek's character, rather than the blood red described in Stephen King's novel. "I wanted her to look vulnerable, otherworldly, and tragically beautiful," Norton said in a 2015 interview. That decision transformed a horror scene into a cultural memory. And then came Tron, a film that demanded costumes for a digital world that didn't yet exist. Rosanna and her team broke every rule to bring it to life, earning an Oscar nomination for their pioneering work. She continued designing through the 90s, contributing to beloved films like The Burbs, Airplane, and The Flintstones. Then, quietly, she retired from costume and returned to her first love, painting. What few knew was that she had continued creating canvases, sketches, even mentoring young designers. In the final years of her life, she lived surrounded by art, family, and the timeless stories she helped bring to life. Priscilla Pointer, the revered actress whose gentle presence graced both stage and screen for decades, passed away peacefully on April 28, 2025, at the age of 100. Born in New York City in May 1924 to a family of artists, Priscilla was destined for a life steeped in creativity. She began her career in the theater, traveling across the country in productions of A Streetcar Named Desire, The Country Wife, and The Condemned of Altona. But her gift reached far beyond the footlights. In the 1970s, she transitioned to film and television, bringing subtle emotional depth to roles in Carrie, Nickelodeon, and The Great Texas Dynamite Chase. In Carrie, she played the mother of Sue Snell, portrayed by her own daughter, Amy Irving, in a performance that mirrored real life with haunting grace. By the 1980s, she became a household name in television, playing matriarch Rebecca Wentworth in Dallas. Yet whether on screen or stage, she always brought a calm authority, a steadying presence amid high drama. Her artistry extended to her family. With her late husband, Jules Irving, she co-founded the San Francisco Actors Workshop, nurturing a new generation of performers. Her children, Amy, David, and Katie, all followed her path into the arts, a legacy born not just of talent, but of devotion. Priscilla Pointer didn't seek the spotlight, but it found her, quietly, lovingly, again and again. She gave us characters who felt real, who resonated, who lingered long after the story ended. In her century of life, she taught us that presence is power, and that love, in art, in family, is the most enduring role of all. P.H. Morardi, the unforgettable British actor who brought terrifying charm and magnetic grit to some of the most iconic tough guy roles in modern cinema, passed away peacefully on February 2, 2025, at the age of 86. Born in Deptford, South London in 1938, Moriarty didn't walk into acting. He was pulled into it by fate. A former docker and boxer, he was discovered while working at Surrey commercial docks, when a film crew saw in him something unteachable. Presence. Real presence. The kind that makes a room or a screen go silent. He was in his 40s when he got his first break. His role as Razors in The Long Good Friday, 1980, was more than just a debut. It was a revelation. Moriarty's quiet menace, his steely gaze, and unshakable calm became the signature of a man who had lived the life others only pretended to portray. Then came Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, 1998. As Hatchet Harry, Moriarty didn't just act, he dominated. A villain of legend, with a voice like gravel and eyes that never blinked. The performance earned him fans across generations and solidified his status as a cult icon. But beyond the screen, Moriarty was a gentleman, a loyal friend, a devoted husband, and a supporter of the Orchid Cancer Charity. He didn't chase fame, he chased truth. Whether in the ring, on the docks, or in front of a camera, Moriarty brought his whole self. No drama, no pretense, just honesty, grit, and soul. P.H. Moriarty didn't play characters, he embodied them. And in doing so, he left us not with noise, but with weight, the kind you feel long after the lights fade. Charlie Scalise, the Philadelphia-born actor who left a quiet yet unforgettable mark on two of television's greatest dramas, The Wire and The Sopranos, passed away on May 1, 2025, at the age of 84 after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. To fans of The Wire, he'll always be Horseface Pacusa, the loyal blue-collar longshoreman caught in a system far bigger than himself. To Sopranos viewers, he was the ghost of a different life. Coach Molinaro, the tough love mentor who confronted Tony with the question, "What if you had chosen differently?" Born in 1940, Scalise was raised above his father's pool hall in South Philly, entertaining customers with jokes and impressions. Life first led him into manufacturing and management, but in his 50s, he returned to a childhood passion, performing. He found his way back on stage in community theaters, and eventually onto film sets, sharing scenes with legends like Al Pacino and James Gandolfini. He wasn't chasing fame, he was telling stories, real ones, honest ones. Charlie acted the way he lived, with humility, grit, and heart. Off-screen, he was a devoted husband to Angeline, his wife of 62 years, and a proud father and grandfather. His family says his favorite audience was always seated around the dinner table. In a world of bright lights and loud voices, Charlie Scalise was a quiet presence, but one that stayed with you. His performances felt lived in, because they were. And through them, generations will continue to know what Poppy looked and sounded like. He wasn't just part of great television. He was part of what made it great. Breaking news. Our latest story involves a Hollywood icon, a man whose gentle voice and commanding presence have captured hearts for decades. Of course, we are talking about the great Sam Neill. And before we go any further, do you admire Sam Neill? From 0 to 100, how would you rate his unforgettable performances? Let us know in the comments. We genuinely want to hear from you. In 2022, while promoting Jurassic World Dominion, Sam Neill received a diagnosis that could have ended everything. A rare and aggressive form of lymphoma threatened not only his legendary career, but his very way of life. "I was in a fight for my life," he later admitted. The treatments were harsh, the uncertainty was real, and for a time, the future looked anything but assured. And yet, he is still here. Before we take a deeper look into the life of this extraordinary man, we want to ask, had you heard about Sam Neill's battle? And what is your favorite role of his? Was it Jurassic Park, the piano, or something more unexpected? Share your thoughts in the comments, because this story is as much about all of us as it is about him. Now, let us step into a life of courage, grace, and renewal. Sam Neill, a name you may know from the movies, but the man himself is much more layered. Born in 1947 in Northern Ireland, he began life as Nigel Neal. A shy boy with a stammer, Sam often stood in the background, observing the world around him. When the family moved to New Zealand, he felt even more out of place. Changing his name to Sam was more than cosmetic. It was a reinvention of self. The quiet, awkward boy became a quiet, curious artist. He did not study drama formally. He did not burst onto the scene with fanfare. Instead, his journey was one of quiet persistence. In 1977, he starred in Sleeping Dogs, a milestone for New Zealand cinema. That performance launched his international career and brought him to global recognition. His portrayal of Dr. Alan Grant in Jurassic Park made him a cultural icon, but Sam's work was never defined by one role. He brought weight to the piano, suspense to dead calm, and quiet complexity to hunt for the wilder people and Peaky Blinders. Whether in blockbusters or intimate dramas, Sam Neill's presence was always one of intelligence, calm, and emotional authenticity. Yet while many actors build empires in Hollywood, Sam built something different: a vineyard. In central Otago, New Zealand, Sam started Two Paddocks, a boutique winery grounded in sustainability and local pride. It was not a vanity project. It was his retreat, his joy, his second life. Among the vines and the soil, Sam found something few celebrities ever discover: peace. But that peace was shattered when he noticed unusual swelling in his neck during a press tour in 2022. What followed was a rapid series of tests that led to a startling diagnosis: angioimmunoblastic T-cell lymphoma, a rare and fast-moving condition. The treatments began. They were grueling. He lost weight rapidly. His son, Tim, recalls being overwhelmed at the sight of his father, frail and reduced. But Sam, even then, found ways to keep smiling, to keep joking, to stay strong. It was not just the medicine that helped him survive. It was memory. It was storytelling. It was purpose. In the midst of his illness, Sam began writing what would become his memoir. Did I ever tell you this? At first it was a distraction, something to do while sleepless from treatment. But soon, it became a reason to keep going. Each chapter he wrote became a lifeline, a reflection of joy, humor, regret, and love. All the things that made up his life. And he wrote it all with no certainty he would be around to see it published. The initial treatments failed. The disease returned stronger. Then came a final hope, an experimental therapy. And to everyone's astonishment, it worked. The cancer went into remission, not cured, not gone forever, but quiet. Sam continues to receive infusions every 2 weeks to this day. He knows the path ahead remains uncertain, but he walks it with calm. I have done some good things, he says, and I can live with myself. He also adds, with characteristic wit, I am not interested in cancer. I have other things on my mind. And what things those are. Today, Sam continues to work, most recently alongside Annette Bening in Apples Never Fall. He continues to walk his vineyard, taste his wines, and spend time with his beloved grandchildren. He laughs with friends like Brian Brown, his mate of over 40 years. He plays roles that matter and lives days that feel full. What is so striking about Sam Neill is that he never needed to shout his achievements. His life has been one of quiet excellence. With over 150 credits, he remains one of the most versatile actors of his generation. But ask him what he values most, and it will likely be a good Pinot Noir, a fresh sunrise, and an ordinary day spent with those he loves. He has regrets, as any man does. He admits to being away from his family more than he wished during his years on set, but he does not wallow in guilt. There are worse things a father can do than be off working, he reflects. It is not a justification, it is an acceptance. So how do you remember Sam Neill? Is it as the brilliant paleontologist guiding children through danger? As the heartbroken man in the piano? Or perhaps now as the resilient soul who faced darkness and chose to write, to laugh, and to live. His story is not just about films or fame. It is about planting vines in rocky soil, about facing illness with grace, about choosing joy over fear. If this tribute moved you, please share your favorite Sam Neill role in the comments. Was it a film that stayed with you? A line that gave you strength? We would love to know. And if you were inspired by his resilience, by the way he took a devastating diagnosis and turned it into a reason to reflect, create, and connect, let us celebrate him together. Thank you, Sam Neill, for every performance, for every chapter, for showing us that courage is not always loud, but it is always powerful.